There's another big important piece of information that just came out for Bray Wyatt, so we'll see what that's about. We'll also check out some Roman Reigns related topics, Seth Rollins, and more. Let's start things off with this brief but very important update for Bray Wyatt. So like we were discussing a few days ago, Bray's return run from late 2022 to early 2023 had some good moments, good pieces, and good ideas. But something was missing. Bray's inner conflict was interesting, Uncle Howdy and his backstory was interesting, and the teasers with Alexa Bliss kept fans on the edge of their seats. But everything just wasn't meshing well together and wasn't flowing well as one story that was progressing over time. Instead, it just felt like a bunch of random segments that really had no relation or connection to each other. And that's where the disconnection with the fans began to grow from within the story. It was just hard to follow and had so many inconsistencies. Well, it looks like WWE will be attempting to fix that issue upon Bray Wyatt's WWE return. Road Dogg recently revealed on his podcast that a new WWE writer has been brought in and has been assigned to work on Bray's story and direction. So this is exciting news. And the best part about it is that it's not just a rumor. This is confirmed news from Road Dogg himself. It's just great because, like we just went over, something was missing there and wasn't really working with the previous writer. So at least that's a promising thing to look forward to. Bray Wyatt will be into this fresh new return with a brand new writer and hopefully a more consistent and easy to follow direction. The pieces are already in place, from Uncle Howdy to Bray Wyatt to The Fiend to Alexa Bliss. We'll have to see what this new writer that's been assigned to Bray Wyatt will do with everything that's in place there. So that's something to look forward to. Bray's story won't have the same feeling that it had over the last few months. It'll be a completely new vision with a new writer. So hopefully that does get everything back on track. Now let's get into some things with Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and the Bloodline. Obviously, everyone remembers how Roman and Seth's story with each other left off at. The last time they met with each other was at Royal Rumble 2022. And there's a lot of fans out there that put Seth and Roman's story with each other up there as one of the best feuds of Roman's entire title reign so far, because the story was just so rich. Obviously, a lot of fans look at Roman and Jay's feud as being one of the deepest and most personal feuds of Roman's current title reign. But maybe right there in second place is Roman and Seth's story. Besides Jay and the Bloodline, Seth Rollins is one superstar who has known Roman for the longest and spent the most time with him. So that added a lot to their 2022 feud. We know that manipulation and mind games is one of the biggest traits of Roman's tribal chief persona, and no one does it quite like him, and that's why he does pick up the win, because no one can match him in that department. But Seth was one of Roman's only opponents that seemed to match the same intensity in the mind game department. Seth came out to their match with the Shield music, with the Shield gear, trying to get into Roman's head and remind Roman of how he broke the Shield up. And it did seem like what Seth was doing was working, and he was getting that slight advantage in the mind games department. But it still wasn't enough. The match would end in disqualification. Roman walked out as champion, and they never crossed paths again after that. Never crossed paths until the May 1st edition of Raw, that is. Now, the May 1st edition of Raw wasn't literally a physical face-to-face interaction between Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, but it definitely appears to still count and could be teasing something for down the line. Paul Heyman was out first and addressed the New World Heavyweight Championship. Heyman says that the title would definitely look relevant around Roman Reigns' waist and how it will be great for Roman to have 3 titles. But Heyman says that Roman isn't allowed to compete for the title since it's a Raw title and how he's a Smackdown superstar. So that was just a quick storyline explanation for why Roman nor the Bloodline members will be allowed to compete for the title. But Heyman's interrupted by Seth Rollins. And Heyman quickly goes into the corner and speaks on the phone to Roman Reigns. Since Roman hasn't been physically around on WWE television in recent weeks, WWE tries to still keep the character around by pretending that Paul Heyman's on the phone with Roman Reigns. And that's exactly what they did here. And Heyman was pointing out that Seth Rollins was getting Roman Reigns pretty upset. So that's when it was announced that Seth Rollins would be facing Solo Sikoa later on that night, pretty much at the request of Roman Reigns, who within the storyline was supposed to be on the phone with Heyman and upset about what Seth was doing and saying. And we get to the main event between Solo and Seth, and it ends in a no contest result. This was something that made fans scratch their heads as well, because if both Solo and Seth can't afford to lose a match right now, why put them against each other? That's a really good question. Fans were also slightly discussing how the May 1st edition of Raw continued the same theme of ending we've always been seeing over the last few weeks. And that's pretty much a good point as well. Fans have noticed that if you go back and look at the last month of endings for Raw and Smackdown, they all pretty much include similar endings. All the endings have been either a standoff between Kevin, Sami, Riddle, and the Bloodline, or the show goes off air with a massive brawl between Kevin, Sami, Riddle, and the Bloodline. That's been the only two endings we've seen on Raw and SmackDown over the last few weeks. So that's something that more and more fans are starting to pick up on. But going back to Seth Rollins, fans are definitely finding it interesting that WWE didn't have Solo Sikoa defeat him during the main event of Raw, making it appear that Seth is being protected right now for a certain reason. Some fans think that reason very well could involve the New World Heavyweight title. Maybe Seth has been getting protected from suffering massive losses because he'll likely be a top contender for the title. Lots of fans are even discussing the possibility of seeing Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins for the New World Heavyweight title, which would be a rematch and callback to their 2016 match where it was Seth versus Finn to determine the first ever Universal Champion. And if Seth Rollins does end up winning the World Heavyweight title in the coming months and holds it late into the year, some fans are wondering if what they teased there between Roman and Seth could be the payoff at Survivor Series 2023. Last year's Survivor Series theme was War Games, since the brand split wasn't so strong and strict. But considering that there's two world champions again and how the roster is fresh off a draft, could the Raw versus SmackDown theme return for the event? And if it does return and Roman and Seth are the two world champions, that pretty much means we'll see Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins, champion versus champion in the main event of Survivor Series. Some fans think that Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 40 is even a possibility as well. So it may not get paid off immediately, but it definitely seems like something was being hinted at there with Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman's interaction with each other. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.